Hey guys, so in this video I wanted to talk about professionalism as well as like networking, things like that. And I do think this is going to be part of a larger series where I just talk about how you can kind of carry yourself as you try to talk to people in your field and kind of gain a network and things like that. So I'd say that this is pretty much like professionalism 101 plus networking. Um, yeah, so if that's something that you guys are interested in, I definitely recommend sticking around. And I'll definitely still be doing the other type of videos that I've been doing. This is just another series that I've been thinking about quite a lot. I recently did a a presentation on this with a couple other people, and I really enjoyed doing that while I was practicing. And I thought, you know what, why not share that with you guys and see if any of the information that I'm putting out is valuable for you guys. So, yeah, without further ado, let us begin. So, networking and talking to professionals. What I'm talking about here is when you are trying to build your network, it's basically similar to just meeting new people, right? And part of your network as it is right now are your friends, your peers, your teachers, things like that. They could all be part of your network, and a lot of your family members as well would probably be considered part of your network. Yeah, so that's kind of where people start out whenever they start thinking about this. These are the people that you really know about, and you have some type of a relationship with. And then from there, in order to build up a more professional network, what you do is you use the connections that you already have, as well as you spend time trying to find people in an area of interest that you want to learn more about, or you just want to be more active in a certain type of community. Those are the type of things that you have to look into to try and build a type of network. And part of this goes to talking to professionals. This is more along the lines of if you're trying to look for an internship or job opportunity in a particular field, you'll probably be coming across quite a few professionals during that time. And what will end up happening is you have to be able to talk to these people and convey who you are and things about yourself that you think are important and might actually help people either become part of your network or potentially even land you a job or opportunity that you might not otherwise have. So the first part of any type of network building or figuring out how to talk to these types of professionals is to do your research. So a big part of this is you'll probably be going to some type of networking events, or like career fairs, or even like bigger industry type events as well, depending on what you're interested in. And this really doesn't matter what your field is, so long as you have some type of interest or inkling as to what you might want to potentially become more involved with as a field of interest. That's something that you can automatically just go online, do some research, try and find different events relating to those fields that you can attend. A lot of universities do this with potential internship opportunities coming about through career fairs. I know my university does that, and definitely a lot of other ones do as well. And beyond that, a lot of companies will also have events, and certain industries have events that take place every year where a lot of different professionals from certain fields come in and talk about what they do. Yeah, so trying to do some research on the things, the type of events and opportunities that already exist out there that you can try to become more involved with, become a part of, is hugely important. And before going to these events, you really have to know what these events are meant for. Some events are specific to finding jobs. Some events are specific just to meet new people that have similar interests than you. So understanding exactly what the purpose of an event is will really go a long way to make sure you're well prepared when you walk through those doors. For example, you do not want to be carrying around your resume or be in business professional when it's more of a business casual event over a meal and you're just trying to have conversations with other people in a field of interest. You're not really looking for, or the people that you're going to be meeting aren't looking for your resume at that moment. Potentially that could happen later on. Maybe they'll even ask for it later, and if you want, you could email it to them and things like that after the fact, but that's not really the intention of certain events. So understanding what the event you're going to and what its purpose is really important to get that done properly, and not really like not to make a fool of yourself at these types of events. You don't want to come across as someone who's only trying to get a job, or really just looking for something for yourself. It's more about just trying to learn from other people, and potentially even helping and teaching other people who might not be as experienced as you. And that really does depend on the event. Sometimes you'll be at an event where you're also contacting people at your same skill level, or talking to people at your same skill level, or maybe people who are where you were maybe a year or two ago. And if you have the opportunity to help those people, it's probably a good idea, because in the event that one day they do end up somewhere in the same sector or same field as you, it's always nice to have those connections for the future. Yeah, so that's kind of a couple of things that you want to have in mind about whatever type of event that you're going to. And this also goes hand in hand with what exactly you're trying to achieve at this event. Depending on where you are in your career, you might be looking for an internship, a part-time job, a full-time job, or you might just be looking for someone to be a resource for you, be a mentor, and just someone you can ask questions to. But that is really something that you have to figure out for yourself. What exactly are you looking at? Probably when you're in college and you're looking at something to do for the summer, you might probably be looking for an internship. Once you're a senior in college, you might be looking for something more full-time, maybe an internship, or maybe something like a full-time job. That really just depends on where you are in your career at that moment. And sometimes you're just trying to learn more things about something that you're interested about. Like, for example, if you are a hobbyist of some kind, you might just want to meet people who have a lot more experience as you in that, and that might just be meeting new peers and meeting people that have similar interests than you, so that you can converse with them either online or in person or whatever in the future. So understanding exactly what you're trying to look for is definitely wildly important for these types of events, in order to kind of cater who you talk to and the way you go about talking to people at these types of events. Now, once you actually understand what you're trying to do, another piece that goes hand in hand in that is talking about yourself. Because you are going to have conversations. That's the only way you're going to be able to create a network. That's the only way you're talking to professionals, right? And you're talking to your peers, talking to other people. So what's going to end up happening is you will talk. And you will not only be talking about the topics that you're interested in, you'll definitely be talking about yourself. So if you don't know how to talk about yourself, or you don't have much experience doing that, that can be very detrimental to trying to have a quality conversation with someone. And even when you do that, like you're probably going to have a few bad conversations, regardless of how prepared you are. But that's just something that kind of goes with these types of events, these types of opportunities. You have a lot of good conversations, you have a lot of bad ones, and the hope is over time that you get more and more of the really good and valuable conversations, because you'll have more experiences with these types of things. So a big part of this is knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are. And I say both of them because a lot of the time people know when you're talking to them, especially at a job fair type of event, that you're only going to really focus on what your strengths are, right? What can you talk about? What do you know? What are you really, really passionate and good at, right? But understanding the things that you're not so good at, for example, maybe verbal skills. Maybe you're not the best communicator just yet. Maybe you haven't had much leadership experience, or maybe you don't have too much teamwork or group project work that you're very proud of. Things like that. Understanding what areas you're lacking in is very important, because what you want to do in those situations is not only say what those weaknesses are, or potentially what failures you've faced in the past, but how you've overcome those failures, or how you're trying to improve upon the things that you're not as good at. And that could be a whole slew of things. That really just depends on who you are and what you're focusing on at a given moment. Yeah, so that's really something that's important to understand. And then from there, what you can formulate is a clear elevator pitch. Now, the way that I would use an elevator pitch is mainly just as several bullet points of things that I think are particularly important that I might want to hit upon while I'm having a conversation with someone. And it's mainly just for starting a conversation, right? It's not like you have to talk for 5 minutes straight and just go point about exactly who you are, what your interests are, the things that you're good at, the things that you're not good at, what you're working on. That's not the point of it. The point of it is to be able to have different resources, different stories, different concepts and ideas that about yourself that you can actually have a conversation about. And a lot of the times, these elevator pitches are not really just you talking to someone directly and just saying the whole thing. It's more about you say a couple words about introduction, maybe like 10, 20, 30 seconds, and then it builds into a conversation. And those different things that you know how to talk about, that you've kind of formulated in this elevator pitch, will just come up as the conversation flows. It's not about saying all of these things, because that's just, you're not a robot, right? You're a human being. You have conversations. You're not just spewing words at the person that you're trying to converse with, because that's not a conversation. And ideally, you want to have a conversation, and not only that, you want to have a worthwhile conversation. So that means not only telling other people about yourself, but learning about them, finding common ground, and actually creating some level of understanding of one another while you're talking to them. And this depends on the situation as well. Exactly what can you talk about and things like that. It really depends on the situation, how well you might know the person prior to this, and how long you've been speaking to them, or if you're just meeting them for the first time, as well as the professional type of setting that you're in. So there are a lot of different variables here, but really just understanding how you can talk about yourself and different things that you can bring up in a conversation is invaluable. Because if you can't do that, it's very easy to get stuck in a conversation and really just not know what to say and get flustered. I've had this issue on a multitude of occasions, and it mainly comes about when you're not prepared for whatever event that you're going to, and you're not used to, or you haven't thought about how you're going to talk about yourself in some time. And this can happen no matter how much experience you've had in the past. If you're not in the mode, or you're not thinking about how you can talk about yourself and how you can start a conversation with others, it can be very difficult, regardless of your prior experiences, to think back to what you did previously if it's been a couple months or even years since you've done so. And yeah, so the final piece, which I'd say this is also part of the elevator pitch, is having some prior experiences, prior projects, and having them written out as like kind of like stories, almost, of like how you can really portray these different trials, tribulations, different projects and experiences, how you can talk about them in a conversation in an interesting manner. Because if you can talk about all these different projects and experiences that you've had, so long as you've had them, obviously, but if you can't get someone interested in the stories that you tell, it's not going to come across, and it's not going to really be valuable to the conversation. So making sure those things that you're talking about, you understand how you're going to portray them in a conversation, is very, very important. Now, the final and probably the most obvious piece of this is actually talking to the professionals, right? And so for this is like, yes, obviously, once if you're trying to create a network, if you're trying to meet people, right, you have to talk to them. So the biggest thing is having questions that you can ask people at a particular event beforehand. If your event is a general career fair around a specific industry, you should probably have general questions that you can ask anyone in that room. For example, when I went to an engineering career fair recently, what I did was I spoke, or I wrote down several questions about what I could ask these different professionals, and some of them included: how did you get interested in your major, your field? How did you start at your company? What made you stay at your company? What do you love about your job? What are some of the greatest challenges that you've faced as you've transitioned into the workforce? Things like that can kind of be asked to a whole multitude of people. And not only that, but being as specific, having more specific questions for people you definitely want to talk to, if you have that information beforehand, is also very important. For example, if you know what companies will be at an event, if you know who will be at an event, if you know actual people that are going there, having questions catered more towards them is always more valuable, right? And the best thing to understand here is that you just have to say hello, right? If you're not as prepared as you'd like to be, right, it's always better just to walk up, say hello, and see what happens. The worst thing that's going to happen is you don't have a great conversation. But at the end of the day, you can just walk away, right? Regardless of how good or bad this conversation is, you may or may not see this person again. And if you choose not to see this person again because you had a bad conversation, that's your choice. And not only that, but you could always come back at another event and have a better conversation with those people. One bad conversation or one day of not being as prepared as you could be is not the end of your life, right? You have a whole multitude of years ahead of you. You have so many potential opportunities. So just taking advantage of every single one of them is what you should try to do. Just walk up, say hello, and you'll learn from having just a conversation way more than you would by just constantly preparing over and over again and never actually gaining those practical experiences of actually talking to those people. So yeah, just make sure you walk up, say hello to whoever you're trying to talk to, and see where the conversation goes, and learn from your experiences, learn from your failures, and just keep moving forward, because all it will do is help you in the end. Yeah, so that's really all I have for this video, I guess, today. Hopefully everything format-wise worked out. I'm trying to put all of the slides in the actual video. That way you know which slides I'm looking at as I'm going through. And yeah, if you guys want to see more of these, I'm definitely thinking about making this more of a professionalism / networking-esque series. And I think that could be really, really cool. So let me know what you guys thought. If you guys have any opinions, if you guys have any tips yourself, please let me know in the comments below. I'm still learning just like you. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!